Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of I Hate Your Taste in Movies. This is a movie podcast where we make our friends watch our favorite movies and watch our friendships shrivel and die. You can follow us on Twitter at I Hate Your Taste and on Instagram at Hate Your Taste Pod. I'm Jackie.
I'm Jen.
I'm Austin.
And this week, poor me, we did a Jen pick.
Poor Jackie.
Poor me. This is my nightmare. I am in a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Get me out of it. Oh, this movie. Jen, tell us, what did you force us to watch?
So this week we watched an essential horror classic, The Evil Dead. So just to give a little background of my love and life with this film. Sorry, Jackie hates her life so much.
So much. I'm sad that we even have to talk about this again. I'm sad that I have to relive this experience.
I love it. So this is a very well-known cult classic horror film. It spawned a franchise. I think I saw them probably when I was in high school, the first 3 Evil Dead movies, and it's weird because I mentioned to you guys before, I was not sure which movie to show you, the first or the second, and the reason for that, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why, which I'm sure we'll get into, but the biggest reason is that because the first movie was kind of a really straightforward horror movie, and they were students when they made it, they were amateurs, this was their first film, they had no budget, and they were able to do a lot of really cool creative stuff with it, which is why I really like and respect it. But then when they went back for the sequel, this is when they kind of pivoted and made it horror comedy, and that's kind of what it's more well known for. When people think of The Evil Dead, they think of Ash giving one-liners and having a chainsaw for a hand and all that stuff that kind of isn't in the first one, so I wasn't sure where to go with it. So I actually personally rewatched the first 2 to decide which one to show you. And ultimately I came down on the first one, like for the reasons I said. I think it's the most impact, it's iconic in a way, and that they did so much with so little, and it's really respectful. I respect it in that regard. Sorry, Jackie's making faces because I said respectful, and that's not what I meant. But I meant I respect it because they were able to really just create a whole franchise that launched their careers, and they were just a bunch of 20-year-olds with like $50 and no skills, and I'm very impressed by it. And my first note when I was watching it was that I think these guys will struggle, and I think you did. And it's not because it's too scary or too violent or anything like that, but just because it is so low budget, I figured you would have some struggles. But anyway, tell me what you guys knew about The Evil Dead beforehand, what you thought this movie was going to be, what you were expecting.
I was very wrong, apparently. I really didn't know what this was about at all. I said, zombies, ? Comedy, 80s, and I wrote, I think a guy named Ash has a chainsaw. Famous for some reason. I'm not excited to watch this. That's my summary. I had no concept of what took place, where, what time frame. I had nothing to go on. I just thought it was a zombie movie with a guy and a chainsaw.
Yeah, I went into this cocky. I was like, I got this. It's a zombie movie. Every zombie movie is the same. I don't know what I thought this movie was, and it was not this. I was just like, it's just going to be a group of friends. They're in a zombie movie, or they're in a zombie outbreak. And then I'm sure that, like every other zombie movie, I was so cocky. Like every other zombie movie, they'll team up with another group of survivors, and then someone will prioritize himself and put the others at risk, and someone will lie about a zombie bite. I'm gonna get this all right.
Did you write? Not even a zombie in sight.
Did you write down, I'm gonna get this all right?
No, but I was just like, that was
like,
my
boom.
mindset going in. Like, I know what this movie is. A goddamn zombie movie. Yeah, not. So I was incorrect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did check IMDb about 7 times in the first 20 minutes to be like, is this the right movie? Am I watching the right movie? Like, what? Looking at the images on the IMDb page, and like, okay, yeah, I did see that. All right. Like, I was convinced I was watching the wrong movie. So yeah, that's where I was at. Not much of a history with it, obviously. But I gotta say, I liked it more than the version that I thought it was in my head. So that's
Oh, I would have way rather watched your version. Yes. Survivors, Hidden Bites. Give me like Shaun of the Dead meets 28 Days Later somehow.
Instead, you got like Night of the Living Dead meets The Exorcist meets Cabin in the Woods.
This movie, man. I really struggle to believe that this spawned people wanting to watch more of these people's work.
Well, I was
awful.
I was very confused too, because in our group chat before Jackie watched it, she was like, "What kind of movie is this? Like, what's the tone?" Or you were like, "Is it comedy or scary?" And I was like, "I think or campy or scary." And I was like, "It's scary." Like, I'm pretty sure that's the tone. And I'm like very confident. And Jen like didn't know how to answer. And I was like, "What? Are you gonna tell me it's a funny movie, Jen?"
No, I didn't answer because I don't know how to answer these things for you guys. Like, if you're saying what's the tone of The Evil Dead, I'm like, oh, it's The Evil Dead. That's the tone. Like, everyone knows what this movie is, but you have no frame of reference, so I didn't know. But no, like I said, I think this franchise is more known for being comedy, but the first one isn't a comedy. It only comes in the second one.
Yeah, I did a little bit of research after the fact. Sorry, Jackie.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna say, having seen the movie, I still don't know what the tone was. Like, I don't even know how to describe this.
I'd say the tone, I guess, is close to slasher in the sense that it's a group of kids going into the woods and getting picked off one by one, even though it's not by a man with a knife, it's by demonic possession.
I guess, but like when I say tone, I more mean like atmosphere, I suppose. Scary, moody, like tense, suspense. And this was nothing. There was nothing in terms of feeling engendered to me. I didn't feel scared once. I didn't feel threatened. I didn't feel tense. I was just like, what am I watching? This is awful. And I like, usually at least I get freaked out, and I respect the movies that can freak me out. And I think I'm liking those more from being exposed to them by Jen.
Ooh,
but
good to hear. Good to hear. Freak Jackie out more.
This was just complete nothing.
So it did freak me out. Not like excessively, but like it was a lot creepier than I expected it to be. And I think, as you both know, I don't think I do well with possession movies. I think that's a horror movie trigger for me. So I think it impacted me more than I expected it to, because it was completely different, and it just like touched on subjects that freaked me out, I guess. I also just finished reading a possession book, which was like the first book that like I was afraid to go to sleep for a while after reading it. So yeah.
What parts of the movie did you find like super freaky or scary?
The scariest scene for me was like the first time we see that someone got possessed. I forget her name. Cheryl. When she's like staring out the window and she's like all of a sudden spins around and she's been possessed, and like she's just levitating and like has her head at a weird angle and stuff. That freaked me out.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to be such a negative person this entire episode. But none of it, like, okay, I guess for the first couple minutes, I was already like, oh, I hate all these people, because they open with them like a woman singing in a car when the rest of her friends are sitting there silently. And I'm like, she's just singing a random song in a car full of people who hate her. I'm like, yeah, these people are terrible. And then they almost kill an innocent farmer in his truck. And I'm like, yeah, these dumb kids are super dumb. And then up until the point where whoever that girl was, she's drawing in her room. And then she like starts scribbling because her arm is possessed or whatever. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, this might have potential. And then completely downhill. Like nothing. They 100% lost me. I was clinging by my fingernails. Guess where they lost me?
Was it the tree rape scene?
Yeah, it was the tree rape scene. What the fuck was that?
I figured we're gonna have to talk about the tree rape. It's so weird because on the one hand, it has absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the movie. It's so out of place.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's so like brutal and upsetting. So I'm like, I understand, because again, like they were young people making their first movie, and they were kind of just, what's some fucked up stuff we can do? Let's have possession, let's have gore, let's have this, let's have that, let's have these trees attacking this girl. And then it goes a little overboard. So it's like, I see where they were coming up with crazy fucked up things to do. And then they made the tree rape scene, which is a little not great. And I know Sam Raimi, the director, has said that he like regrets it, and doesn't think he would do it again, and I can absolutely see that, because again, he was a 20-year-old kid and didn't really know this movie would be seen by so many people.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's
definitely lost me a little bit.
It made me
intense.
hate everybody involved. I'm like, you are terrible people. If this is something that even came into your mind and you thought was worthwhile to put on film, then you're bad people.
And like how exploitative.
I don't want to give you money.
Sorry, just like the way it's actually filmed too. It's just so visceral, I guess.
Yeah.
And
there's just no coming back from that for me. Like
too, and it's just like, yeah.
It is. I actually like forgot until I rewatched just how like brutal of a scene it is. Like I knew in my head, oh yeah, there's the tree rape. It's almost become like a joke at this point. Not necessarily the scene itself, but that the fact that the scene is in the movie, it's almost just like, oh yeah, and then there's a crazy tree rape scene. But then watching it, I was like, this is so like upsetting. It's very brutal. And I know the actress didn't know they were going to have that final shot where the wood kind of like really just slams into her, because that was done in post.
Oh, jeez.
So she saw that for the first time in the theater and was like, oh, I'm raped by a tree.
Yikes. Yikes.
So yeah, it's fucked.
It's also just occurred to me that we didn't like give any kind of summary for it. I'm assuming most people have seen it, but I wouldn't mind if you broke down the characters, because all of my notes are like, that guy sucks. Oh, that girl. Oh, the other girl. Like, I didn't know anyone's names. And so I had a hard time keeping things straight.
I just have to say one thing. We've all heard the term Ash.
Yes.
His name is Ashley, which made me laugh so hard. I'm like, Ash? Okay, that could be an action hero name. Ashley? Get out of here.
He confused me, because I feel like once I clued into sort of what was going on, that like, oh, the other movies are something different. Like, because a lot of things that I was reading were like Ash's famous one-liners, and I was like, what one-liners? Like, he says like 4 things in this movie. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, so again, like the later movies are kind of a whole different species almost, and that's kind of where Ash becomes a beloved hero, and he is. I know Jackie's gonna refuse to believe this, but like, he's iconic. Bruce Campbell is amazing. He's very... I think if you had watched them, Jackie, you might have enjoyed the other ones, because he is much more of that action hero in that he's giving like one-liners and quips, and he's got like a shotgun and a chainsaw, that kind of action kind of stuff. So you might have been more on board with that version of Ash.
Too bad we'll never know. I will never watch another one of these movies as long as I
All
live.
right.
Unless Jen makes me.
But yeah, so just the breakdown of the movie. It's 5 friends who are going to a remote cabin in the woods for a little vacation weekend getaway. The cabin had previously belonged to a professor who was studying Kandarian demons and the Necronomicon, which is the Book of the Dead. And there's a ritual in there that will bring the demons and allow them to possess you. The stupid professor reads it out loud and summons the demons, and also records himself reading it out loud to like a book on tape that the kids, find when they're at the cabin, and then the demons start possessing them one by one. And the characters, so our main character who kind of emerges throughout the film is Ash, aka Ashley, aka Bruce Campbell. There's his girlfriend, Linda, his sister, Cheryl, who's the first one to get possessed, his friend, Scotty, and Scotty's girlfriend, whose name is Sherry, I think. It's really close to Cheryl. Shelly. Like, it's close to Cheryl, and that's why I always fuck it up.
Yeah, what a weird name choice. Like, why would you do that? You've only got 5 people in your movie. Why are 2 of them named almost the same name?
Yeah. Although, as someone who's never been the only Jenn in, like, a classroom, I can't really judge.
I do know a lot of Jens.
Yeah. Even at my work now, everyone's French, but all the Genevieves go by Jenn, and I'm like, can you not? Can you not give me this one thing?
You're like, please, I'm the English one, I get to go by Jen.
Oh, God. Anyway, yeah, so those are characters. And Scotty's kind of the asshole.
He's the worst.
Ash is kind of like the nice guy, and then the girls are fairly interchangeable.
Yeah, they're nothing. Again. 80s men making movies.
I was a little bummed that it was like just one after the other. All 3 women get killed or possessed like immediately. Like, oh, okay, cool. So we just got the 2 guys left.
Yeah, and the guys get to try all sorts of heroic things. The women's cry.
Yeah.
And be totally useless at all points, which is It's a product of the time. I acknowledge that, but I'm like, this movie started at a negative and it never, the needle never went above zero. Like, it's just, I was looking for something to like, but then I think I got to the point where I was just like, now I'm checked out. Right?
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but you're right. If I had seen it earlier in my life, maybe, or if I had seen the second or third, there's three. There's more than one. There's three.
The third one involves time travel.
Oh God.
All right, never mind. I'm lost again. Forget it. I've seen Back to the Future. I'm good. Forget it.
I'll get you to watch all of them. I honestly, like, this is something I think about when trying to show you guys these horror franchises, because sometimes it's so hard to distill it down to just one movie. So, like, we did it with Nightmare on Elm Street, and I think the first movie totally stands alone as its own thing, but I am going to make you guys watch sequels, spoiler alert. So we will get more of that. But then something like Evil Dead, I really wish I could have just shown you, like, all three, and then be like, here we go. And then I've only seen the first season of Ash vs. Evil Dead, the TV show, but I haven't caught up on that. I would show you some of that. And then we would all go see Evil Dead the Musical live in theaters. And then you guys would have the full effect. We would go see Bruce Campbell giving a talk. You'd read his autobiography. We'd be, like, full into it.
Are you telling me that this man has made his entire life about this movie franchise? Like, he's like a Comic-Con guy and
Do you mean Bruce Campbell?
Talks? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's also, like, an actor. He's in other things, but this is kind of his most prolific role.
Feels sad.
It's so funny to me, just having seen the first one, where it's like, really, out of that? I mean, it was fine, but, like, really?
I know, that was like a nothing performance. I'm really surprised that this had enough people watch it to become something. I'm surprised it didn't just die immediately. Like, they showed it in their film school class and everyone was like, F-, get out of here.
This really did become, like, a cult classic. On YouTube, there's a documentary about the film that's kind of like a bit of a making of, where a lot of people involved telling their experiences. But there's also a lot of, like, modern horror directors in it. So, like, Eli Roth is in it, and Edgar Wright, and they're talking about, like, seeing Evil Dead on VHS when they were teenagers, and how it, like, inspired them to make movies, because they were like, if someone could make this, and it's so cool, I can make something too. So it really did have an impact.
I can see that. There's some cool shots in it, and, like, you can tell that it's low budget, and you can tell that it's creative in the way that it does some of the stuff. So I can see, like, one of my notes was like, this feels like an art project. Like, this whole thing just feels like a project.
Maybe that's why I hate it.
And so I can see, you know, aspiring filmmakers watching it and being like, oh, I can figure something out. I could do something like that. Because I do think there are some cool moments, especially, like, the last shot. That was probably my favorite part of the movie, honestly.
It was also Jackie's favorite part, because that meant it was ending.
Oh, God, yeah. I was like, is it over yet? But I do want to ask you that question, Jen. Do you appreciate this movie because of the things around the movie? Like, the people, the budget, the cult following? Like, you appreciate not the movie, but what was involved in making it?
Both. I think if I had been you and I had never heard of this and I was not a huge horror person and I just watched this as is.
I want to add something. And you only understand and enjoy movies on a superficial level.
Okay, yeah.
For real. I am so superficial in movies. I don't get it.
But like I said, I expected this to be a struggle for you for those reasons. But for me, like, it's part of the package. So, like, I like the movie on its own because of those things, of seeing the creativity and the innovative stuff they were doing. And also remember, this movie came out in 1981. It took them 2 years to film, so they started in 79. So a lot of the horror tropes that you're seeing here weren't really tropes yet. So they were doing a lot of new, cool things. But then also, I do also love, like, around it, like, the impact it had, the rest of the series, the Evil Dead world. I'm just going to show off my chainsaw shirt for, like, the 4th time.
See, I think that's why I can never really appreciate this movie or love it or kind of care, because I'm only seeing it in this dimension, which is I'm watching it in my house. And I was like, this is so boring. I hated this movie so much. I found nothing in it because I don't understand the context or what it means to other people. I was just like, where is the point? Where's the nugget of something I'm supposed to care about? So yeah, I guess that's my recommendation to anyone who is like me and likes movies that involve, like, bang, bang, don't think. think about this one. Get some context, understand it better, because otherwise it is a terrible slog.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when I'm picking movies for you guys, I am putting in the effort of things I think you might like, and then other times I'm just like, this is an important piece of horror history that they need to see. So this is like, I don't care that you didn't like it, I didn't expect you to like it, but this is your homework. You have to watch this, because it'll
fair.
give you more context for later films. Like Austin kind of mentioned Cabin in the Woods at one point. I want us to watch that, but that references so many other movies. I kind of want us to hit some of those before we get to it. And this one, like, I made like 7 notes referencing Cabin in the Woods while watching this, because I'm like, I didn't realize how many beats they like hit from this.
That's true. I watched that movie recently for the first time, so it was fresh in my mind.
Yeah, even something as simple as like the cellar door flying open.
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh yeah, that's like straight out of this.
Never seen it. I feel like that's not a surprise to anyone. So,
but you will.
Jen, knock that on your list, because can't wait.
I think you'd like that one. You'd like that one more than this one, I think.
Yeah.
Very, very easy to have happen, because I think I was like, anything more than this movie.
That one had like a budget and professional actors, so yeah, she'll like it.
Is Alan Tudyk in that movie?
No.
Okay, so I'm imagining someone else.
He was in Tucker and Dale, which I made you watch and you hated.
She hated that? Oh, fuck.
You guys, I'm gonna hate these movies. It's not a surprise anymore.
Also, when we watched Tucker and Dale, whenever there was a gory scene, you both looked at your phone, and I was like, guys,
oh, yeah,
you're missing the kills.
Honestly, that kind of happened in this movie a little. It's the same thing. I call it the Austin situation in my head, where she doesn't like aspects of the action movies. She doesn't like car chases or shoot 'em ups. But it's like that when it's gore. I don't like it, and I don't want to see it. And it's like the movement of it, and like, oh yeah, he's fighting a disintegrating person, and I'm like, don't need to see it. So then I just kind of start to look away from the screen, even when I'm like trying to force myself to watch. My eyes drift up or away. Like I can't make myself watch it. So I wanted to ask a question about one scene. Do you mind if we jump a little?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jump to it.
Okay. So he's fighting someone, one of the women, zombies. And he like stabs her or cuts her arm, and she bites her own hand off.
I was confused by that.
Oh yeah. I think that was Shelley.
Yeah. Why? What happened there? Why would she bite her own hand off and then is still holding a knife?
I actually had a question about that too, because I totally, like, I just didn't, I don't know if I just looked away. Like, I was watching it, but I don't know if I just missed something, because I totally thought somehow, like, his hand had got cut off, and so I was like, oh, damn.
That's number 2.
I know it is, but yeah, no, I thought that he had lost his hand, and I was like, oh, damn, and he's, like, rooting around for his own, like, severed hand to, like, get the dagger back. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool, and then I was like, oh, wait, that's not at all what happened, so I did miss that as well.
Sorry, I'm just trying to remember what exactly happens there.
I think what happens, if I'm remembering a little bit, is that he cuts her with the Sumerian blade, and then she's holding it, but she bites her own arm off. Because, like, then the hand is attached to the blade, right?
Yeah.
But, like, why?
So I think he had, like, cut through trying to cut her limbs off, because you have to dismember people to kill them when they're possessed by the demons. But then she, like, chews it off the rest of the way so that she can, like, continue.
I have a follow-up question when you're done.
Hold on. Oh, I don't have my phone with me. I was like, I want to look this up, because I know there's more to it. I just can't fully remember.
Well, that kind of makes sense if it's, like, flopping around, like he cut her really deep and all the tendons are severed.
Yeah. Like, that's what I thought happened.
But you could also just take the knife out of your hand.
But then that's not as
stabbing.
cool looking.
Oh, was that cool looking? Did I miss the cool aspect of that? Because I was like, this is...
Shut up, Jackie.
Much. Again, we have to just briefly say, I don't like wet special effects. This is a very wet movie.
Yeah.
A lot of spewing fluids.
And your other favorite, gross stop motion at the end.
Yes.
I was like, oh, Jackie's out. If she wasn't out already, she's out now.
Honestly, did I even see that? What was the gross stop motion?
Oh, it's when they're all, like, melting at the end. It's
stop God,
motion
you're right.
Animation.
I friggin' hated that so much. So dumb. I would have rather they just, like, exploded. I'd be like, nice. A shower of gore? Fine. Maybe I just want everything to explode. That's my key to a good movie. How many explosions per person?
So my follow-up question to that then, my thought was, is Jen eating chicken wings right now?
Yeah, were you on, like, the the real stringy part of a chicken bone?
Well, we know
No,
she
because first of all, it's not a zombie movie, so I do not have chicken wings in non-zombie movies. And second of all, it was 10 in the morning, so I was eating breakfast and having a coffee.
Side follow-up question. This is not a zombie movie. Are the other Evil Dead zombies, or are they all demonic possession?
No, it's all demonic possession like this. They're called deadites, so they're all deadites.
Okay, sure.
For context on the chicken wings, you can listen to our episode on Night of the Living Dead, where Jen talks about how it made her crave chicken wings.
Do you guys not just want to eat chicken wings when you're watching zombies gnawing on someone's flesh? I don't know. It just gives me a craving.
Which was so funny because I'm like, remember when he took the guy's liver out and he like lifted it up and you guys were like, ew, that was gross. And I'm like, that's the part I can identify with. The wings, no thank you, but it's cool when he actually does like a mini autopsy. I'm there.
But yeah, just to get back to like, you guys were talking about how you hate the gore and things like that in films. The more we do the podcast, the more I realize that I love gore. And I've always been like, I'm okay with it. You know, it can be well done. I think sometimes it can be excessive. But then when we sit down and talk about it, I'm like, I love the special effects. I love the kills. Give me buckets of blood. Guys, don't look away when the deaths are happening. This is the best part. And then I'm like, I think I just love gore. I think I'm a gore head. And I did not fully realize to the extent until placed with you guys.
Can we talk about each of the possessions? Because I do have some questions about this demon and his. It's my turn to ask Jen how movies work.
Every time we do this, I forget that you're going to do this. So I don't prepare this kind of stuff. I'm always like, I've got information on the distribution of the film. And then you're like, tell me about the interior logic. And I'm like, oh no, right. I can't.
So we know that I went into this movie completely ill-equipped, like with the complete wrong information.
Yep.
So like when they get to the cabin and, well, like the first shot even, where it's just like that weird thing in the woods and it's creepy or whatever. Creepy, quote unquote.
Yeah, what is that?
Well, that's what I was really confused by. And then like they get to the cabin and then the swing is like going and banging against the wall and then it just stops. And I was like, so was that the creepy wind, or is that like, I was still thinking it's a zombie movie, so I'm like, or is that like a zombie physically moving it? And then it like stopped. So, well, that's what I was confused by. You're looking at me like I'm crazy.
No, I'm on Team Austin because it doesn't make sense. Are the demons already there? Like anyone who wandered would just get possessed?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Is like, because then the bridge is destroyed for them, and like the woods are after them. So I was just confused by the, I guess, timeline of it. Like, were the demons already conjured from when the doctor read the book onto the book on tape? Is that?
Yeah, so when the professor had read the book, that summoned the demons, and then they killed him or possessed him. We don't really know in this one. He's not around. But we know that they had been possessed at this point, and he'd figured that out. So the demons are still kind of just around, and now these new kids show up, and they're just like, cool.
Okay, so the kids didn't actually need to play the tape recording. Like, the demons were there already. They just played it for our benefit to understand the story?
I think so. Like, I think the tape recording... I think, yeah, if they hadn't played him reciting it on the tape recording, the demons still would have been in the house. But I think because they did play the recording, the demons were just like, oh, cool, we're being doubly summoned. We have more strength now.
Because then also when Cheryl gets possessed, she says something about, like, why did you disturb my sleep or something?
Yeah, well, the demon could have been sleeping in the house and then they showed up.
Okay, not like, you disturbed my 1,000-year-old sleep. Okay. I'm just taking a power nap between possessions. Yeah, okay.
It had already been summoned by the professor.
Okay. Because that confused me a little bit.
So we're saying no one had visited this area until them. Like the professor did, and then years passed, there's no caretaker or anything, then they show up?
It hasn't been years since the professor. It's been fairly recent.
Okay. So why would the professor have all of his weirdo artifacts in the basement? If he's just like chilling in this house, just like have him laid out in the living room so easy access.
I guess, I mean, I don't remember if they ever mention it in this one, but in the second one, it's sort of that the professor and his wife had been staying at the cabin, so then maybe it's that he's got his work area in the basement, so it's not bothering the wife.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gross.
But I don't remember if in the first one they ever mentioned the professor having a wife.
I was going to say, did they never mention that like he disappeared or was murdered in the cabin? So do we think that it's known that he just disappeared off the face of the earth?
So again, I'm going to reference the second one because it's sort of, in some ways, a direct sequel. So in that one, Ash is at the house and all this shit has gone down. And then the professor's daughter is coming to the cabin to find her parents. And then they're not there. And Ash is there covered in blood with his, decapitated girlfriend out front. And she's just like, serial killer in my parents' cabin.
Reasonable guess.
Yep.
Yeah,
I like
absolutely.
her already.
And then, of course, it turns out it's demons. And then she was with other people, so there's like a whole group of people that arrived at the cabin, and Ash is like, there's demons, we all have to leave. And they're like, you're a crazy person, get in the basement.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah, so if we're following like the timeline, then yeah, in the second one, pretty quickly they discover that the professor and his wife are missing / demonically possessed.
Okay. Because yeah, that definitely threw me off right at the beginning, because I'm like, is this like supernatural? Because yeah, okay, so I thought it was zombies. But I'm like, what is happening? Like, what is that thing? That's not a zombie running through the woods that quickly. So I was just very confused as to what I was
It's just
seeing.
like flying around,
yeah,
kind of. So in the second one, first of all, I really hate direct sequels because I'm like, just let that person have a couple minutes of rest after they survived this first movie. Like, they're probably really tired. They want to have a shower, but no, they have to do a whole other movie. Anyway, so when it like comes at him at the end of the movie, the final scene or whatever, so do they explain what he sees in that moment?
So, oh god, now I have to get into this. So
Sorry.
The second one is kind of a direct sequel, but also at the same time kind of a remake, because the first 5 minutes they're redoing basically the whole plot of the first movie. So they wanted to do a recap of what had happened previously, but when they were making the sequel, they didn't have the rights to the original because the studio had the rights, so they couldn't show clips. So what they did was they recast a different actress as Linda, and then they had Ash and Linda arrive at the cabin, and then she gets possessed, and then he has to kill her, and then he's running out through the woods trying to escape, and the woods aren't letting him escape. And then it kind of, now from there, goes into the second movie plot. So you kind of get like a brief 5-minute, this is what happened the first time. You get the gist. Yeah. But like the rest of the friends aren't there. It's just Linda. And then Ash is immediately like kind of the new Ash character. So like they get into the house and he's like, hey baby, let's open some champagne. Wah wah.
That's
sarcastic
such a strange
dude.
Choice.
After his girlfriend died literally like 10 minutes before.
No, because she hasn't died yet. This is like him and her arriving at the cabin in the new version.
So sorry, I thought you meant to like Professor's daughter. He's like, hey, let's pop some champagne. I'm like, dude, read the room. You're covered in blood. Okay,
that clears some stuff up.
Sort of. I still don't like, again, I want to know what's happening. So when it's like flying through the woods, I'm like, is this some kind of winged creature? Is it a bird that's possessed? Can these demons travel? Because if they can, why don't they just like take over the world or go to a populated city? Like what? They're bound to the Necronomicon, I guess, but why? Like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't like it. I was like, what is this? What's happening? Tell me.
If you want to get into the lore, I can recommend Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, Evil Dead 3, Army of Darkness, Ash vs. Evil Dead, the 3-season series. It'll give you a lot more context. So,
I will watch none of these.
If you're busy this weekend, Jackie, we can do a movie marathon. Like, we'll
so
sit and
busy.
Watch all of these.
Really got plans, lockdown plans, big ones. Gonna stare at a wall.
Okay, I want to talk about Demon Cheryl.
Okay.
Ugh.
Because so I mentioned that freaked me out when she like first got possessed. Because that was when I was like, oh, this is a very different movie. Well, that was after the tree rape scene, so I suppose I'd already come to that conclusion. But it just kept getting weirder and weirder.
Now I'm just picturing Austin still thinking it's zombies, so they're at the tree rape, and she's like, is it a zombie tree?
The tree got
That was when I was like, something's different than I expected. I was so arrogant going into this. Anyway, I kind of loved Demon Cheryl. When they lock her in the cellar and she's just kind of stuck, but like just trolling them in general. I kind of was rooting for Demon Cheryl. That's really all. I just really liked her.
Yeah, I like Demon Cheryl too. I like that all the demons, once they possess someone, they sort of have different personalities.
Yeah.
They're all off. Like, I know that you're supposed to hate the demons, but like they're all so irritating. I would have liked this more if they were kind of cool, sassy, or like really threatening or scary or something, but they were all just like they're like little annoying children. You're like, get out of here.
I feel like they all started a little bit creepy, or they all had like aspects that were very creepy. But one of the things that I did write down is I felt like some of it went on a little too long. That I think like to the detriment of the fear level. Like if you're going for a scary movie, like it's just kind of like, okay, like thinking of the name.
Shelly? Linda?
No, the other one.
Cheryl?
Linda.
Linda's the girlfriend with the magnifying necklace.
Yes.
What the fuck was that?
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, when Linda is just like laughing, like I thought that was creepy. Like I thought like, oh, she's a creepy like child doll thing, like whatever. Again, I don't like possession stuff, so like that was creepy to me. But then it just went on and on. I was like, okay, you gotta like change it up or something because it's no longer scary to me. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. It's just irritating.
And I think a lot of that stuff too, like I said, they were kind of students, they were a lot of first-time actors, and a lot of stuff they were doing was kind of improvising and changing as they were going, and that was actually one of the things for Linda. They originally had her makeup done differently, and then she kind of was doing like a little girl laugh to freak people out, and then they were like, let's make that be the demon. So there's like one scene where her makeup's like kind of green, and then in the rest of it she's got kind of the doll face paint, because they just went with what she was doing. So then because of that, it wasn't really planned necessarily, it wasn't really like written out, so that's maybe why they were like, I don't know, just keep laughing, and she just keeps laughing, and they just, you know, there wasn't as much for her to, she could have done more if they had had more time to work on the script.
That's fair.
And not just kind of have, you know, changing it up as they were going.
Because to me, the imagery of her just like sitting on the floor, like when the camera turns around, she's just like sitting cross-legged on the floor, like creepily laughing, like that got me.
I hate little kids and dolls and stuff like that in horror movies, and also in real life. Like, they're just creepy. So I really think they could have done a lot with it, but like I said, I think they just weren't really sure where to go with it.
Right.
But why didn't they friggin' lock Cheryl in the cellar with the trapdoor flush to the ground? Why did she have like 3 inches where she could stare at them from it? What is wrong with these people?
I guess they just put the chain on and didn't pull it tight enough because they were
Stand
too
on
frantic.
it.
I know.
Come on,
then
people.
also, we wouldn't be able to get those like great images of Cheryl like peeping
I
out,
loved
being
it.
like, "Fuck you."
I like genuinely, non-ironically, really liked those moments where she's just like peeking through.
I just have an issue with the way that they handled the whole situation.
Well,
they handled it very poorly. You lock her in the basement, tight. You stay away from the windows. Why does everyone in these movies continue to stare out the window at the blackness? You're not going to see anything, and now you're a target. And they randomly go outside different times alone. Oh, I'm going to go run out of this whole situation, says Scott. And he also gets murdered by trees. Like, I just wish, I only respect these type of movies when people seem to do things that aren't so ridiculous and so apart from how people would actually react in real life.
I mean,
Great question. So we're all in a cabin in the woods, and someone reads the Necronomicon, and it's the, 5 of us. We start getting possessed one by one. How are you handling it?
Also, why doesn't Ash get possessed?
He kind of does in the second.
Okay. Anyway, I don't know. If everyone's going to get possessed equally, if there's no way to prevent it, then yeah. Surrender, lay down on the ground, let it happen, say goodbye to life, make a peace. If it's something you can fight, we all sit back to back holding weapons.
I like it.
All right. Okay, because I was going to say, like, what if, it just starts one person's possessed, Austin's possessed, the rest of us are fine. How are you handling
Apparently,
it?
Jackie's
put her in the cellar,
immediately.
flush, chains, chill until dawn. You don't let her mess with your mind.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how the possession spreads.
I got so mad when they started messing with him. So I was like, come on, Ash. Come on, Ash. And he fell for it twice. Come on.
When did they mess with him? Sorry, which parts?
Sorry, the demons were messing with him. Like when Linda kind of turns back to normal at one point, and it's like, "I'm your girlfriend, don't kill me," and he's like, "Of course not." And then Cheryl, "I'm the demon, you fucking idiots."
Yeah, and then Cheryl in the basement is like, I'm okay now, let me out. I sent Jen a picture of my notes for this point because I was so angry. She's like, "No, don't help her. She's evil." And then, oh my God, are you gonna fall for this again, you dumbass?
So I actually made a note. This might be a bit of a tangent. Have you guys seen on Twitter or TikTok lately? There's a lot of trends about himbos, male bimbos. Yeah. Ash is kind of a himbo. He's just Because the trifecta that they describe a himbo as is, like, conventionally good-looking, which, like, we can debate, then dumb, but also genuinely kind of a nice person. And I'm like, I think he hits all of those. He's just a himbo.
I'm willing to accept that, except I feel like I didn't get enough of Ash's personality to, like...
Yeah, when is he nice?
See, I did make a note that I thought he was genuinely nice when Cheryl was like, I was just raped by trees, we gotta go back to town. And he's like, I'll take you back to town, but I don't think you were raped by trees. So I was like, okay, he's just like, automatically like, sure, I'll get the car, we'll go back to town, you're upset, like, I'll do this. But then he was also like, I really don't think trees came to life. Which is, again, a fair assumption at that point in time. He was wrong, but it was a fair assumption.
I still don't get why he doesn't die. Like, is he supposed to be, like, morally strong and that's why he can't be possessed? Like, why? Do you have any theories?
No, I mean, I don't want to get into time travel.
Please don't. Please, God, don't.
It's okay. I think Jackie can survive without actually knowing the answer to this.
I can leave this a rhetorical question, but just know that I'm annoyed that there's no real reason for him to not be possessed. He should be.
Yeah, so let's just, taking this movie on its own, I don't know if there's a reason why people are getting possessed in the order that they are. I don't think it's necessarily, like, Cheryl gets attacked first, and that's why she's possessed first, but I'm not sure what makes each person get possessed more. Like, I don't know if there's any physical attribute, so I don't know if it's that the demons are finding ways in when people have let their mental guard down and we're just not seeing that.
I don't know. Okay, hold on. I don't know if I was just so hyper-focused on the fact that I thought this was a zombie movie and just couldn't let this go. But I just assumed it was, like, some sort of, like, physical injury or some sort of, like, being physically attacked by someone who is possessed. So, like, with Cheryl being attacked by the trees that, like, opened her up for possession or whatever. And then...
The whole in this is that everybody gets wounds. Like, Ash is completely wounded.
I think that's why I was... Well, was he... Well, yeah, he got scratched and stuff.
He was bloody as hell.
Yeah, he was cut up.
Well, half of that wasn't his blood. But
some of it was, though. So, like, he had injuries.
Right, so that's kind of why I was confused again, the demon logistics, because I just kind of assumed, and maybe that's why I mixed up Linda and Shelley, because I was like, oh, I assumed Linda got possessed because she was stabbed in the ankle, but then I didn't know what happened to Shelley.
Yeah, you were thinking of it like an infection.
Yeah, I was still holding on to that zombie crumb.
Wouldn't let it go. You're like, I need this. I need this.
Yeah, you're like, I understand. This is a zombie movie. Why isn't it following the zombie movie rules?
You know what I also hated? I'm sorry. This is a very small nitpicky thing, but Ash is like, I think it's when Linda's possessed and he's so terrified and he runs backwards out the front door. And I'm like, you know there are possessed demon people everywhere and you're running backwards out a door. And then Scott like jump scares him. And I was like, you fucking idiot. You deserve that.
I also was really annoyed that he was so eager or so accepting that Scott wouldn't reanimate. Like that he was... Like, he was just dead. I'm like, he's not just dead, Ash. Come
Speaking
on
of Scott, one more thing I have to say.
Yeah.
Scott is like, fuck Linda, forget her. I'm abandoning her. We're leaving. And then when he's injured, he's like, don't leave me. Please, please don't leave me. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. Get out of here.
To your point earlier, Jackie, I think that's a realistic way someone would react in the situation. They're like, I don't care about her. Like, I need to be saved.
Yeah, it is realistic, but... Ouch, that's human nature. We should all be thrown into the ocean.
I did also laugh at Ash again in this part when, like, Scotty's, like, half dead on the couch or whatever, and Ash is like, we're all gonna get out of here, buddy. We're gonna be okay. And I was like, he's fucking dead, you moron. Like, he's not surviving this.
And he's literally like, have a drink, pal. And he doesn't even flinch. It just pours it down his hand or down his chest. And then he's like,
friend's bloody corpse.
He's dead.
I liked at the one point where he was like, we're all gonna get out of here. Cheryl and Linda and Shelley. Well, not Shelley. I'm like,
yeah, because she's in pieces, literal pieces.
Oh, God. But that's also something I like about this when they're listening to the audio tape at the beginning from the professor, and he says, like, the only way to stop the possession is dismemberment. It's, like, full throttle. It's not like... You know, just like a zombie movie where you need to separate the head or anything. It's like, you need to slice these people into bits to get out of here. And they do it with Shelley.
He almost does it too with Linda.
Yeah.
He straps her down like hardcore, and then he gets a chainsaw, and I'm like, yes, okay, finally, this is the chainsaw I've heard about.
Yeah.
And then he wusses out because of the magnifying glass. Pathetic. He deserves to get murdered by her.
That was a real chainsaw, which I'm sure Jen knows because it's like,
yikes.
Yeah, this sounds like it was a pretty wild filming experience. But that was a real chainsaw. So she was like scared shitless because she had a chainsaw being held up an inch from her chest.
If he had tripped, she's dead.
Oh my god.
But
they must have taken the blade off.
I mean, I wouldn't assume that.
Yeah,
because you can take off the. Oh god, poor girl.
Should we talk a little bit about that? Did you want to talk about the filming?
No, we can talk a little bit about the filming. I'm sure Austin came across a lot of this during her trivia research, but basically this was like the shoot from hell for a lot of the people involved. Like I said, it took them years to finish this movie. They were staying at like an actual cabin in the middle of nowhere. They didn't have running water or electricity. The cast and crew of like 20 people were all just like staying together, sharing a room. They didn't have budget, so like a lot of the stuff was real. Like we said, they had to use a real chainsaw because they were like, we can't afford props. Everyone was doing their own stunts, so they were throwing themselves into walls and downstairs. A lot of the bruises and cuts were all for real. The makeup artist, when I was watching that documentary, the makeup artist was talking about it, and I'm saying makeup artist, he was just a guy that they knew. And he was using acrylic paint on the actors' faces, which you cannot do, and in order to wash it off at the end of the day, he had to use scouring pads to scrub it off, which is so absolutely fucked. And the contacts that they used weren't like normal contacts. They were like contacts, but not what we would think of a contact as today, like to get the white effect on the eyes. They said it was like thick plastic and they couldn't see when they were in. So they were like genuinely blind.
Someone described it as Tupperware. It was like putting Tupperware on your eyeball.
That is also so bad for your eyes, you guys. I work with eyes.
And they could only do it for like 10 minutes at a time or something. Like the actors could only wear the contacts for about 10 minutes at a time, and it would take several minutes to put in and out. Yeah.
That is bad.
In that behind the scenes documentary I was watching, it's on YouTube if anyone's interested.
I did come across it.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it, Jen. Sure.
Any listeners, not you, Jackie.
Okay, good.
But they were saying that like because Bruce Campbell was sort of like sounds like he was the adult on set in a lot of ways. So he was the only one that they trusted to like put in the contacts for the girls. So they didn't have running water. So they would have like a bucket of water and he would have to wash the blood and grime off his hands in the bucket to then put the contacts in the girls before they filmed the scene. And I was like, that's not clean enough.
Did anyone lose an eye?
No.
Someone lost eyelashes.
I'm sure. Did they get massive eye infections? All of them? Probably. Also, they didn't live in this cabin like year round, did they? Like they must have came back seasonally or something?
No, so actually a lot of the actors, they were only scheduled and paid for a few weeks, so they filmed their part and left, but a lot of stuff was continued later on. So they had the cabin in Tennessee where everyone was filming, and then after that they were doing extra scenes and stuff at like different crew members' family cabins in Michigan. And so Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi were like longtime friends from high school, so that's why they were like the two guys really making the movie. And then once a lot of the other actors had left, they just had like their friends kind of as like demon stand-ins and stuff for when they were filming different stunts and getting more effects done. So like it took them a long time to get it done.
I also read that his brother Ted Raimi, which I mentioned from The Grudge. Sorry, Jen. That's what I associate him with. But he was like a stand-in for everyone, basically.
Anyway, throwback to that episode, because you were saying like, oh, Ted Raimi, blah, 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 Sam Raimi. And I was like, oh yeah, I saw Ted Raimi one time at this thing with like Bruce Campbell. And you guys were like, I don't know who that is.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, we're watching The Evil Dead at some point. So The Grudge is what brought us here.
I wish I still didn't know who that was. I would be a happier person. I did have one question, because to me it seemed like when Scott finally attacks him, he is stabbed really violently in the abdomen, and it seems like he almost bleeds out. Like that stopped him for some reason. Why did that stop him? I thought you had to be dismembered. Like Scott all of a sudden wasn't a problem because he got stabbed in the belly, right?
I don't remember.
Okay. Forget it. Not a good question. Not a good question.
No, it's fine. Was Scott the one who got the fingers in the eye sockets?
Yeah.
Yeah, also a lot.
Love that.
Actually, yeah, we should talk about the final fight scene a little bit, because this is where I got upset.
In what way?
Because I was kind of on board. I was like, you know what? This is a better movie than I thought it was going to be. But then when he throws the book into the fire, first of all, was he trying to use the magnifying glass to set the book on fire? Was that what he was aiming for? I know he was pulling it, but I was like, oh, he's going to use it as like a mirror and like, set things afire. But no, he was just using it.
The sun.
So,
I mean, yes.
You guys are on the right track.
Are you saying, hold on a second, Jen, are you saying that's a stupider idea than trying to use a necklace to, like, pull something towards you?
I'm trying to explain that the initial intention was that they were going to use the magnifying glass to burn the book, and that's the reason why they bought that ugly-ass magnifying glass necklace. But then they realized the scene wouldn't work, so they were like, how do we use the necklace? We already filmed all that stuff with it. It has to mean something. So then they use it to pull the book.
That's really funny, because I appreciate that a lot more, because I'm like, there's no way this would work. Like, the necklace does not have a giant hook on it. Yeah. What are you trying to do?
I was watching an interview with Bruce Campbell, again on YouTube, and he was actually talking about him and Sam buying that necklace, and Sam was like, this is the perfect necklace, and Bruce is like, this is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. We cannot put this in a movie. And he's like, no, it's gonna burn the book. It's all gonna come together. We're using it. And Bruce was like, you're a fucking moron. And then it didn't end up working and burning the book. And he's like, I hate that necklace. I've hated it since the day I saw it. Like, poor guy. He was so right. It's such an ugly necklace.
So I agree with him. And I also am like, if I was Linda, I'd be like, what? This is my like big meaningful gift. Get out of here.
And she like loves it. She's like, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, Ash. And I'm like, what? She doesn't
even hold it up to her eye. Like, if I say I got that, I'd be like, okay, well, you're terrible at choosing jewelry. But then I would magnify some stuff. I'd be like, oh, look at how close I can look at this bug. She doesn't even have any fun with it.
Yeah, or like maybe if she had some sort of backstory or something, which would make a magnifying glass necklace make sense. Like if she was like a jeweler and she's always looking at things up close and she's just like, oh, a handy one around my neck. Thank you, Ash. What a thoughtful gift.
Okay, well, I feel slightly better about that.
That's funny. Actually, it's really funny that they're like, okay, try and hook a book with it, I guess.
Yeah, it's like kind of what I was saying before, where they just had to improvise a lot of stuff while they were filming, so things got changed around and maybe didn't make the most sense. Like, again, giving your girlfriend a magnifying glass for a necklace.
So romantic. Where I was going with that, though, is when he does throw the book into the fire, and the two demons just, like, freeze and then start falling apart. This is where I got mad, because I was on board for the movie, and then it turned into a Tim Burton movie. I wasn't a fan of the stop motion because it didn't seem realistic, and I know that it was 81 or late 70s when they were filming it. But it was the same thing that we were talking about before too. I just felt like it was going on for too long. I was like, this could have been good. If that was the constraints that you had to work with using stop motion, like fine, but it was so long of this like really ugly shot of like it wasn't gross, it wasn't realistic, it wasn't anything. And especially because I thought the demons earlier were relatively creepy, so I was like, wait, you had this level of scary, and then all of a sudden it's like a cartoon.
Yeah, and then they throw in like bugs to try and make it gross for some reason. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah,
and
I agree.
Spurting like 10 different colors.
Yeah, I don't know why they had to spurt. Why are they always spurting out like a milky like vomit?
For the censors. Because they didn't want to get an X rating if it was always blood.
Still not loving it. The end scene, honestly, I agree with Austin. It took me out of it. I was already checked out, and I'm like, well, now I know how this is going to end. It's going to be a couple minutes of this, so I don't think I even really looked at it. I was like, all right, they're melting.
Nope, they're still going.
Yep, got it. So I can't see that I actually watched that much at the ending.
It's fine.
My first note I have a question about. They're driving. And then there's these two random men standing on the side of the road waving at them. Who are those people?
I think it was Sam Raimi and the producer.
I appreciate that, but I would rather have that had turned into them like being slasher movie murderers. That would have made that interesting. I'm just like, because I was like, okay, I took a note of that. That's going to be important. Never developed into anything.
Also, whenever they're waving, why is it Scott that's driving or Ash? I don't even remember.
Scott.
But he was so aggressive. He was just like, go to hell, I'm not honking at you. It's like, dude, they're just waving.
It's because Scott's a dick. We got to establish that.
God.
Every movie needs one.
It's true.
I was just going to throw out another bit of trivia. Again, I don't know if Austin looked into any of this stuff, but this was, when it was released, it was banned in a lot of countries for being too gory and extreme. And in the early 80s in the UK, there was something called video nasties. I don't know if you were reading about this.
I read that it was one of the last of the video nasties, but I didn't really look into what they were.
Yeah, so that was basically like, in the UK, obviously, they had a ratings board that had to censor and give ratings for movies in theaters, but when stuff was released on VHS, there was kind of like a loophole, so a lot of really graphic, violent films were kind of going straight to VHS that they could get by, and then the different boards and councils were trying to put a stop to that, and they were actually charging a lot of people on obscenity charges, so Sam Raimi had to go to court in the UK and defend the movie. And I think I read that it was after that he started to really regret the tree rape scene because he realized there was no justification for it.
There really isn't.
Kind of like other stuff he could defend and be like, this is why we needed this much blood, this is why we needed this person stabbed. And then they were like, why was she raped by a tree? And he was like, I don't have a good answer for you. So yeah. I'm like, as fucked up as that whole UK thing is, because I think it was a little bit erring on the side of censorship, at least he was able to kind of come out of that on the other side, seeing that maybe the tree rape was not great.
Yeah. We don't have to beat that to death any more than we already have.
Yeah.
We all agree. Not good.
Not great.
Maybe bad.
Yeah, we agree. The people in the film agree. Everyone agrees.
Right. I love a consensus. So where are we at?
Yeah, I think we're at high points and low points.
Yep.
If anyone would like to go.
Oh, Lord. My high point was that for one shining second, I thought, okay, he's going to use the chainsaw, and I'm going to be able to understand why a chainsaw is so important and why people love him with the chainsaw and why it's meaningful. And I was like, cool. This is going to be his like turnaround where he's going to start kicking ass, chainsawing people left, right, and center, totally lunatic time. I was looking forward to that. Does not deliver. Becomes so pathetic in the next instant where he's like, my love. He knows he has to dismember her. Instead, he unties her and he goes to bury her. I'm like, fine. You're not able to chainsaw her. Just leave her tied up. Like, eliminate the threat somehow, you dumbass. But for the moment when he took the chainsaw, I was like, cool. He's going to do it. We're going to get a hero. I'm in. That was it. That's the only moment I had in this movie where I was like, maybe it won't be terrible for a split second. And then it was back to being terrible. The low point, I mean, is tree rape, right? Like, can I even, I don't feel like I even need to say anything about that. It ruined everything, any potential this movie had, any tiny nugget of warm feeling I had, just gone immediately. Like, I just couldn't get past it. I don't know if I gave it a good enough try, but I was just like, this movie's done now.
That's fair.
Okay. My high point was possessed Cheryl. I thought she was fun when she was like trying to get out of the cellar, trolling everyone. I was rooting for her. I liked her. And I thought like her makeup was really good. I thought she was creepy looking. Even her initial possession, like I said, freaked me out because that's when I was like, this is not a zombie movie. Newsflash. So that was good. I liked her. My low point, aside from the tree rape, like I said, was the stop motion melting thing at the end. Just kind of took me out of it.
It's fair. All right. So my high points, I'm torn between a couple, but I think I'm going to go with the pencil to the ankle.
Ooh.
I enjoy. I thought that was really, honestly, I don't like ankles getting sliced or slashed or anything. So the pencil to the ankle, like I felt it. It felt visceral.
It was unexpected too. And it, again, lasted a while.
Yeah, like you really see it like digging around in there and messing up her flesh. That's
really interesting. Maybe it's because I've dissected a lot of ankles because we take it the Achilles, but I really found that not at all upsetting. I was like, like it barely even penetrated my brain. I forgot that happened.
Yeah.
That's just, maybe it's just because I'm more familiar with it, but I'm really interested that that's what we got to you, of all people. Jenn, the gore queen.
Yes.
That is what got to you.
Because you can feel
Ankles.
it.
Anything on the ankles. I also like, this is going to sound weird because I don't love like eyeball stuff, but I love fingers in the eye sockets. Like, so that was another.
I'll tell you something interesting. They will not bleed that much.
No, I assume that was not 100% how that would go. But, like, I love that in a movie when they're fighting and they just do the thumbs in the eyes. Like, I love that. But then if it's anything like stabbing in the eye, I don't love.
I'll give you a quick tip. You can cut this.
No, we need the tips, Jackie.
Okay, if someone's attacking you, you stick your finger in their eye on the side here, and you make a little hook, and there's a muscle right there. You can pop their eyeball right out.
I'm gonna pass out. Anyway, my low point. I don't know. I mean, I guess the tree rape is an obvious low point because it is. But, like, I don't necessarily know if I would call it the low point of the movie. It's sort of just something that's really, like, jarring. I don't know. I guess this isn't really, like, a low point, but I like this movie a lot, but I also wish I could see what they could have done with this if they had had the money that they had for the later ones. Because with the later ones, they're doing a more of a comedy thing, which I think is great, and I love it. But I also would have liked to see if they had stuck with the pure... Like, if they were doing this pure demonic possession with a little bit more budget, I think it could have been great.
Yeah.
That's fair. I like how I made a low point for both high and low.
Yep,
I just realized.
I noticed that.
That's fair.
Maybe your low point should be how much of a jerk I am in regards to one of your favorite movies.
Jenn takes it so well when we
She
don't
does.
like her movies.
Really am impressed by how well you accept me just being a total negative shit person.
You know
Meanwhile,
what it
I'm
is?
terrified to make you guys watch some of my favorite movies. I don't think I can emotionally handle it.
Listen, I am Ash sitting on the couch next to Bleeding Scott. I'm just so optimistic. Jackie's talking about how much she hated this, and I'm like, she'll like the second one. I'm gonna get her to watch the second one. She'll be on board. Because if you want Ash with the chainsaw, like, that's when that starts to come in. That's when hand is gone, chainsaw's on, we're fucking people up.
I don't know if I want that anymore. If you had asked me before, yeah, I'm in. I'm 100% into Chainsaw Hand.
And he's got some corny ass one-liners. I think you will appreciate it.
What I appreciate is how you cannot be brought down. You are strong in the face of unrelenting criticism. I really respect that. Because I'm like Austin, I'm like, don't be mean to me. I can't. I can only dish it out. I cannot take it.
I don't know. I also I go in with the expectation that you're going to hate it, which I think prepares me a little bit. So then I'm just pleasantly surprised when you don't. But I am determined to get you guys to like horror movies. So every time you hate it, I'm just like, okay, challenge accepted. I will try harder next time.
It's more fuel to her fire.
God bless you.
One day you'll break me, Jackie. I'll be crying and I'll be like, I can't believe you hated this.
You're the backbone of this podcast, man. I'm the bad one who's always angry. Jenn's the strong one, and Austin's kind of somewhere in the middle most days. Some days you're really happy, some days you're really angry. You can't really predict Austin. She's an enigma.
Yeah.
I go with the wind. Do you have any quotes for us?
Oh, I tried. There's like negative dialogue in this movie, which is why I'm so interested in these potential puns that exist somewhere, but not in this movie.
Right.
I do appreciate, like you said, that Cheryl was a little bit of taunting. But that's the only dialogue I could think that would be worth having, is like if they ever had anything clever said by the demons. I don't know. Do you guys remember anything clever they were said?
No, the only quote I wrote down was when Scotty was being a jerk and he said, "She's your girlfriend, you take care of her," about Linda.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's the whole like turnaround, and then he's like, "Don't leave me."
Yeah.
It's enjoyable because you hate Scott so much.
Yeah.
It's not actually like great written funny
exactly.
dialogue.
There's really not too much dialogue, which kind of was another point that I meant to mention that I kind of forgot to, but I kind of like that it's just 5 people. Like, there's really not a lot going on. It's just these core group of people, and then the action kind of starts right away, so it doesn't really waste any time. And so I liked that. But yeah, I was confused by there's like no dialogue, because yeah, I think when I did look it up IMDb to double check that I was watching the correct movie, because I refused to believe that I was, I did see a couple of mentions of like Ash being so funny and so witty. So I would have liked to have seen some of that, but I mean, that's not this movie's fault.
All right, guys, Dead by Dawn. We're going to watch it.
Oh, boy. The one quote I have is Cheryl says, "Soon all of you will be like me, and then who will lock you up in a cellar?"
Yes.
Which is kind of cool. But yeah, that's it. That's all I have to offer, unfortunately. I have failed my mission as quotes master, so
it's fine.
I surrender my crown.
It's not the quotiest movie.
No. Well, I think I failed as well. I actually don't have a ton of original trivia. Jenn obviously did talk a lot about the stuff that I did read.
Sorry,
no,
I didn't want to steal all your stuff, but I did want to talk about it.
It's more authentic coming from you. The budget was $350,000, and then the worldwide gross was $2.9 million. Apparently, at the end of a normal day of shooting, Bruce Campbell would have to be brought back home in the back of a pickup truck because he was just covered in blood. So, good times. Apparently, Betsy Baker, I think she played Linda. Yeah, she said that when she got the call about doing the movie, she was suspicious. I guess whatever pitch she got made it sound super suspicious, so she refused to meet them anywhere but like a public restaurant. Like she had to meet them in public. I was like, respect.
Smart girl.
Also, that's like Heather from the Blair Witch Project, where she like brought a knife with her because she was like, I don't fully trust that this isn't a snuff film. And I was like, I appreciate this. Oh, the blood, I guess, was a combination of syrup, non-dairy creamer, and then red food coloring. And apparently at one point, like Jenn mentioned, it was really cold. At one point they had to resort to like burning the furniture to stay warm. So at one point, Bruce Campbell's shirt was so saturated with the fake blood. After he dried it by the fire, his shirt became solid. It like broke when he tried to put it on. So that's the state that we're in. So Jenn also mentioned that this was like a pretty hellish filming thing. There's a lot of injuries. Some of them, like you said, are in the movie. Apparently Bruce Campbell twisted his ankle on a root while running down a hill at one point. And then Sam Raimi and the producer would tease him by poking his injury to try to like aggravate his limp and like aggravate the pain that he was in.
Oh my God.
Right?
In that documentary I mentioned, that producer, I forget his name, it was Rob something. He
Tappert.
Actually talks about that. Yeah, Rob Tappert, thank you. He talks about that, and he's like, that was probably the worst thing we've ever done as humans, but at the time we just thought it was so funny. And I'm like, fucking like 19-year-old boys, like who invented them?
Honestly, the worst.
But like there's so many. He got his face knocked by a camera. This wasn't an intentional thing. Obviously the cameraman slipped and it smashed the camera into Bruce Campbell's face, apparently, and knocked out some teeth. This was a trivia that I thought was really indicative of the filming in general. Several actors had inadvertently been stabbed or thrown into objects during filming.
Wow. Do you think that axe was real? If the chainsaw was real?
Probably.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Right?
They also, in the documentary, the actress who plays Linda talked about the scene where they're kind of like beating her with wood beams outside.
Mm-hmm.
And she said they told her like, oh, it's styrofoam, we're gonna go buy some styrofoam ones. But like, they just went to Sears and bought like the fake ones that people put up in their house. So like, it wasn't real wood, but it wasn't like styrofoam.
Like plastic at least?
Yeah, it was like plastic or something. So she was like, they like hurt.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, yeah, because like there was no one on set who could like build props. They didn't know how to make wood out of styrofoam. They just went to Sears in like the home decor area and was like, what looks like wood but isn't a wood plank? So wow. Yeah, this is what happens when you're doing a low budget, essentially student film in the 80s with very little protections.
Honestly, it sounds like they're lucky no one got like seriously injured or dead. At the premiere screenings, they had set up blood donor stations, and they were giving free tickets to the movie along with a pin that stated, "I bled for the evil dead." The producer, Robert Tappert, joked at one point that this was their way to give blood back to the community after so much fake blood was used on set. This is a kind of a fun thing to imagine. I guess a lot of the demon POV in the running around the forest shots were filmed by mounting a camera to a 2x4, and then Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell would just run around with it, which I find a funny visual to imagine.
Yeah.
Dead chickens were stabbed in order to replicate the sounds of mutilated flesh. So that's gross.
Yeah,
I feel like you didn't need to do that.
Not nice.
Nope.
Why are you laughing? Because you want
Sorry.
chicken wings now?
No,
You're gonna order
just-
some wings?
Yeah, I'm gonna order some wings after this. But you guys just like, oh, those like gross, stabbing a dead chicken or whatever. I'm like, well, they need to get the squishy sounds.
I guess at least it was dead. At this point, I'm surprised it was dead. So
yeah, and I'm like, they probably got it from the grocery store and ate it that night. Like, they had no money. They couldn't, like, have a chicken with no use. They were just like, stabbing our chicken breast that we're gonna cook up for 20 people to eat tonight.
over the furniture fire.
Yeah.
Oh. They all have super cancer now.
That's also, again, in the documentary, the one guy who was the driver / cook for this, like, shoot, he was also just a friend from high school, and he was like, I was not talented, so I got put in charge of cooking for everyone.
Oh, God. So it's beans every day?
Yeah, he was like, I didn't know how to act or, like, run cameras or anything, so they just found the job for me doing this, so I drove people to set and then made everyone dinner.
No, like, you gotta start somewhere.
I know.
Kind of nice.
Right? It's just so funny that it was, like, the whole crew was just, like, a bunch of guys from their hometown and friends from high school, and they were just figuring it out as they went.
Yeah. That's, I mean, really all I have. I think you covered most of the stuff, and I'm sure there's obviously so much more. This is another one of those that's just so in the world that I feel like everyone knows apparently more about it than I do. But I did want to talk about Evil Dead the musical. Let's have a bit of history, and then I'm going to take it to Jen because I know she's seen it. It was first staged as a workshop in Toronto in August 2003, and then it played for an additional 3 weeks as a full-blown production. And then it was presented at Just for Laughs in Montreal in 2004. During the Northeast Blackout of 2003, the cast and the crew performed the show on the front lawn of the Transact Club in Toronto. I've played gigs there. That's cool. Nice. The band played acoustic instruments and cast members provided sound effects from backstage. Then the off-Broadway production started previews in 2006. And it ran until February 2007. And then Evil Dead returned to Toronto on May 1st, 2007. It celebrated its 300th performance on June 26th, 2008, which made it the longest running Canadian production in Toronto in 20 years. And also won the Dora Audience Choice Award. But so I watched a bootleg of this on YouTube yesterday. I didn't get through all of it. I got through the first act because I was like, oh, it looks like the second act is going to be Evil Dead 2. And I also, to be fair, contemplated watching Evil Dead 2. But I didn't get around to it. So I did watch a good chunk of the musical, though. But I want to hear from Jen because I know she's seen it.
Yeah, so I've seen the musical several times because I absolutely love it. I think it's hilarious. I think it's genuinely funny. It's really cheesy. It kind of leans into the cheese. There's a part at the beginning where, like, the bridge appears on stage and someone just kind of, like, chucks a fake bridge on stage, and then later when the bridge is out, they, like, chuck it on again, but now it has, like, caution tape wrapped around it, and they're like, the bridge is out. Like, it's so funny, and it's so, I don't know, I think the songs are really great, and then if you are in the first 2 rows, you are in something called the splatter zone.
Okay, I didn't make that up. I thought
you did not.
I texted Jen, I was like, is this the musical that had a splash zone for blood?
Yes, it is. So when there is blood on stage, characters, are cut, injured, dying, blood will splurt out, and they will kind of go to the edge of the stage and, like, point it at the audience. So if you're in the front, you get coated in fake blood that way. And then the sprinklers above you will go off and pour down more fake blood on you. It is a magical experience. I love it. I've seen it, I think, about 3 times here in Toronto. I'm wearing a t-shirt with a bloody chainsaw on it. It is from Evil Dead the Musical, so I bought it when they were here. Jackie, questions?
Question. Were you in the splatter zone?
Yes. Not every time that I've seen it, but I was, yes.
And also, Evil Dead the Musical, is it following the plot of Evil Dead, or is Evil Dead 2 and 3 in it as well?
It is combined the first and second. So it has the 5 people arriving at the cabin in the woods, but then it also has the daughter of the professor and the locals who are in the second movie also coming to the cabin, so it kind of combines the 2 of them.
Okay.
So you get a best of both worlds kind of situation, where it's got like the plot of the first one, but the comedy and the parody aspects.
I feel like I got some more references, like his hand and the chainsaw and the laughing scene and stuff. Like there's those references in it, so I got a little bit of the Evil Dead 2 experience, I suppose. But yeah, it was fun. I meant to go see it when it was here last, and I forgot.
It is very funny whenever it comes back, when live theater is a thing again. We're all gonna go.
Live theater.
Jen, hit
movies
us.
That came out this year.
Yeah, so this was 1981. Not a year that had a ton of great movies, actually.
I disagree.
There were a few. I know, Austin. I know. There were a few. So, like, the big movies of the year were Raiders of the Lost Ark, On Golden Pond, and Superman 2. There was also a lot of things that are sort of well-known, but I don't particularly know that well. So stuff like Stripes, Reds, Porky's, Escape from New York came out that year, and then Austin's all-time favorite movie that she's going to make us watch one day, Pennies from Heaven.
Hell yeah, it did.
That just makes me think of when you drop a penny from, like, the Empire State Building and it kills someone.
Maybe that's what it's about. Who knows? You'll
Maybe
find
I'm
out.
I genuinely have no idea what that is about.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Once I work up
Spoiler
the courage
for
to make you guys watch it.
Upcoming episode. Listen, you guys just said that I always take it so well when you hate my stuff. So, Austin, you have to be brave. I'm putting everything I love out there and just letting you guys hate it.
Okay, I just want to preface it by saying, Jackie, remember when you made me watch Die Hard and then I was nice about it? Just remember that.
But that's such a great movie. Like, no one can complain about it. So...
That's how I feel every time it's my turn, but you never seem to agree.
I'm excited that someday you'll find a movie I love. Like, I hope it exists.
I've got you, like, half on board.
Yeah, well, yeah. Way more on board on certain things that I ever would have expected. So,
yes, like we're getting
progress
there.
Is being made, I think.
And same thing, I've gotten Austin half on board. I just never seem to get you guys on board on the same movie.
That's true. And it will never happen.
One day.
What do we do now? Ratings?
Ratings. Jackie, do you want to get it over with?
Yeah, sure. 0 and 0.
Is that it?
Yeah, if I could give it lower, I would. I didn't enjoy a second of this. I thought it was awful. I'm sorry, but it was like pain to watch. This is up there with how much I hated Beetlejuice. This is really bad.
I was going to ask, where does it fall on the Beetlejuice?
Yeah, this is a good question. Which did you hate more?
I think I hated Beetlejuice more. By a little bit.
All right, so that's still like the bar at the bottom level for us to hit for you.
Yeah, I think so. Beetlejuice was the most enjoyable movie experience I've ever had.
I feel like that's Jen's next challenge.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll just hit it eventually accidentally. I'll be like, this is an enjoyable film. Everyone will like this. And then Jackie's like, this is the worst thing ever committed to tape.
Oh boy. Okay. My rating, I have no idea what to rate this. I think for enjoyment, I'm going to say 5. Kind of middle of the road. I thought it was spooky. Like I said, I am easy to scare when it comes to possession, which is not what I thought this movie was going to be. So it took me by surprise. Therefore, it scared me a little bit. And then quality, I'm going to say 7. I thought it was pretty well made, especially with their lack of budget and lack of experience. I thought a lot of it, some of it was goofy, some of it didn't look great, but a lot of it looked pretty good. And the score. I didn't mention the score. The score was really good. I can't go an episode and not talk about the score. It was fun. I liked it.
We have to make that like a segment now where we'll be like, trivia, quotes, score?
Yes
or no, Austin?
Yay on this one.
Okay. My ratings, I'd say for enjoyment, I'll give it like an 8. I think it is a solid, enjoyable film. And then quality, I think I'd say the same. It's like an 8. Obviously, it's not the highest quality in terms of the fact that they are all amateurs. I think there's scenes that are almost kind of a little blurry looking at points, and there's some stuff that just doesn't quite work. But I think the fact that they were able to do so much with so little, I just think it's so impressive, and it shows like that there was some real like raw talent there. So 8s across the board for me.
Cool. Friendometer?
Jackie?
Mine is fine. I was worried you would really hate me after I spent 2 hours trashing the thing you love.
No, we're green.
Okay.
I'm gonna win you over, so I don't take it personally.
You are a bigger person than I am because I'm always so mad when everyone hates my movies.
Yeah,
Austin,
I'm
we're
green.
green, right?
yeah, we're green. I'm green.
Okay, good. I'm glad you
Super
watched part of the musical, even though I think I watched the same bootleg as you and it was really bad.
So, well, Jackie can torture Jen next week because it is her turn to pick a movie.
Yay! I'm choosing for next week, we're going to watch a movie called Broken Arrow. Now, this is one of my favorites when I was a kid, and I haven't watched it since.
Okay.
I cannot vouch for any kind of political correctness, enjoyment, acting. I can't vouch for it at all.
Okay.
But I think it's going to be really bad. But I want you guys to watch it and destroy it because it's one of my, like, I really have a soft spot for this movie. It stars John Travolta and Christian Slater. So, not on that little piece, we're going to watch Broken Arrow.
Broken
Oh, yeah.
Arrow.
Oh my.
I can't even say I've heard of it, so there we go.
You're going to love it. I do not know if I can say that with confidence. You are going to watch it.
Yeah, that much is
That's
true.
it. I can say that.
Awesome. So that wraps us up for The Evil Dead. Next week, we're going to be watching Broken Arrow.
I'll give you a hint. It's an action movie.
Ooh.
Shocker.
hint.
Coming from
Surprising.
you, that is.
Guess what? Maybe they're in the military. Who knows?
So in the meantime, you can follow us online on Twitter at I Hate Your Taste or on Instagram at Hate Your Taste Pod. We also have a website. It's IHateYourTasteInMovies.wordpress.com, and there is links there. There are links there to our merch. Please leave us a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. Let us know what you think. We're having a lot of fun doing this, and it's really helpful to get the word out. So thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.